Welcome to Talking Shop. We are back at it. Before you do anything, subscribe. Hit the little subscribe button. That way you get them when they come up right away. And as always, participate. If you got thoughts throughout the video, share it below. Help kind of build this community as we're working through text. But today we're looking at John chapter 10, 11 through 18. The Good Shepherd.
That's what he says.
That's what he says. That's what he is.
One of the I am statements.
And we will deal with what that means. Let's get after it.
Evil way, spit out my Lord in every way. Yet I'm still welcome in
So
the
the
arms
best shepherd would die.
of the King.
Wow.
I
That's
see.
good. Let's get after
see?
that. Let's get after that. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. John 10, 11 through 18 comes right out of the gate. One of the I am statements in John's gospel. I am the good shepherd. And the good shepherd does what?
Dies. Wait.
Well, it's not just that he
Hang
dies. He dies on behalf of the sheep.
Oh, you mean he willingly dies?
Willingly dies.
Oh.
Still dies.
So he's the good weak shepherd. Sorry, we were having this.
We'll get to there. We'll get there. So I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep.
Yes. So not getting to dying, right? I mean, you could look at this. You could read it not as dying. We read that in the sense of the crucifixion, but lays down his life, is willing to go into harm's way for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Because he does oppose himself to the hired hand who runs away at the first sign of trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah, the good shepherd is the one who willingly gives his life over for the sake of the sheep.
Yes. Gives his life. Yeah.
So he's not worried about himself.
Right.
He's worried about the sheep. Let's put it in that context.
Yeah. So he starts there, and then he compares himself to what he calls the hired hand.
Right.
So this guy, whoever it is, isn't invested in the sheep in the same way, right? So they're not his sheep. He's just, it's
Right.
kind of the, this is kind of sad. Well, it's like the, I think bank tellers are probably still told this. I think they used to be where, like, if somebody comes in to rob the bank,
yes.
like
Yes.
they basically say, you just give them what they want. It's
Right.
not. It's not like your
It's
money.
not your money.
Right. It's somebody
Right.
else's. Don't just do that and don't put your life at risk. and
Right.
everything. And it's sort of that thing. The hired hand is there. If the wolf comes, what does the hired hand do?
He runs away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I guess we would say he says he doesn't own the sheep, or he has no possession of them.
Right.
So when the wolf comes,
Yeah.
he leaves them and flees, and the wolf does what to the sheep?
Snatches them, first of all.
Yeah.
Grasps at them, and also scatters them.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah. Destruction.
Yeah.
So
Chaos.
The killing and the scattering out of the sheep.
And then making them even more helpless because now they're not even within the flock. Now they're just out too.
Out, yeah.
Yeah.
And it said, and so verse 13, he flees because he's a hired hand, because he doesn't care.
Yeah, because
them.
he's worried about his own life.
Yeah.
He's
doesn't
worried
care
about
for the
his
sheep.
own self. He wants to live to see another day.
Yeah.
So, yep.
So that brings us back around. Jesus reasserts his I am statement. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me.
Yes.
Right? And then he relates this in an interesting way. So this sort of horizontal relationship with the sheep, like he knows them, they know him. He relates it as it's the same way in which he is known. He knows the Father.
Yeah.
Or actually, he says the Father knows me.
Yeah.
And I know the Father. And in turn, I lay down my life for the sheep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. gives it over, hands it off, you might say.
Yeah, and now this is an interesting thing where I think we tend, if we're preaching this, we tend to actually kind of gloss over how weird this all is.
Yeah.
Which is what we were talking about beforehand. You kind of brought up a little bit there.
Right.
Is what you want is you want the shepherd to kill the wolf.
Yes.
I mean, like,
Yeah. You want
that'd be the best.
Yeah,
scenario.
you want him to put himself in harm's way, but you expect that if he's the really good shepherd, that he's going to know how to fight for his sheep.
Yeah.
That he's not going to, because the assumption, I guess, would be made, and maybe this may be where the assumption goes, that once the wolf kills the shepherd, then he's going to go after the sheep, and not be satisfied just with killing the shepherd,
Sure.
you might say.
Yeah.
And so now, you would expect the shepherd to be able to care for the sheep, right? If you're one of these sheep, you're looking at the shepherd going, you're protecting me. If you're not here because you're dead, then you're not going to be able to protect me.
Yeah.
And so, that's why I was saying the best shepherd, the best shepherd would kill. He's only the good shepherd. The best shepherd would kill the wolf and still be there for the sheep.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I think it's one of those things. Preaching this, I think most people would they're not going to go there, or they're not going to even touch on this, which maybe you should.
Yeah.
Every time this text comes up, I think of. I've told this story before. Towards my end of my seminary career, I read John Chrysostom's. It's like 7 books on the priesthood. They're little treatises, and almost like scared me so bad I wasn't going to do this job. But in one of them, he tells this story, and he talks about you're asked to be a shepherd, and he said, and you are constantly scanning the horizon for the coming wolf. And he's like, and you don't know where it's coming from. And he's like, and even more so, these aren't even your sheep. Like,
right.
They're your shepherd's sheep.
Yeah.
Like, and he told you, hey, watch out for them, take care of them. And this is why he, in the treatises, what he's writing about is he's arguing why he should not be a priest.
Right.
He's saying, no, this is, I am not worthy for this endeavor. And it's this terrifying image of, you get up on a Sunday morning, the sheep gather, the wolves are coming.
Yeah.
And it's like, where are they?
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? And where are you? And it's like, what does it mean that your good shepherd died for the sheep?
Mm-hmm.
And yet the wolves still come.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's the conundrum we find ourselves in, is how this kind of then plays out in the life of a church today.
Yeah. Well, and I think the way it plays out is Jesus talking at the end, not just about laying his life down, but also that does not mean the end of him.
Right.
And that's where the good shepherd motif comes in, because he willingly appeases the wolf's appetite.
Yeah.
And then is still there to protect the sheep.
Yeah, it's so great. Yeah.
And that's the part of it that makes him the good shepherd.
So he does speak of in verse 16 that there are other sheep, right, not of this flock, but he's going to bring them in, because in the end there's only one flock.
Right.
Right. And so those that are gathered right there with him, he's clearly saying, you're not the only ones that are part of this, right?
Yeah.
So
this isn't just
broadening
about
out.
you.
but then to your point, I think that is what makes him the good and the best shepherd, is that he lays down his life, but he takes it right back up.
Right.
Again. So it's sort of like, he is the crucified one, in that resurrection is where the strength of that shepherd in the ongoing life of the people of God comes from. Right?
Because basically now he gets to come back to those wolves that are at him and go, bring it on. You can't kill me. And your bloodlust cannot be satisfied with me.
I don't know if you're going to want to preach this or not, or preach it this way, but I've done this before, and maybe I'll look at it again, is this notion that you as a a shepherd of a congregation or an under shepherd or however we talk about it, as a preacher of the word, part of what you're doing then is it's like you're looking out and you see the wolves coming and you're looking at all these sheep and you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to start killing them now. Right? In other words, I'm going to kill them. You think of our baptismal language. We're called, right?
Right.
You have been crucified with Christ, and now you rise in him.
Yeah.
So that when that wolf comes, you're like, no, they've already been killed, and now they live in this good shepherd.
I'm gonna make you eternal sheep.
Yeah. And so you're sheep still, but you followed your good shepherd, and now those wolves, their attacks aren't going to be what they once were.
Yeah.
You know? And that's it.
I don't know if I'd preach that text that way.
Like,
but, I mean, that's a great sermon. I just don't know if I'd preach that text that way.
I'm just going to start. I'm going to mow you down now.
Yeah. We're going to start the slaughter before somebody else sinks their teeth into you.
That's right. Yeah.
I do this lovingly. I do this.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's so, it is that thing. So whatever the wolf was, like if it's, if it's pride, arrogance, false teaching, whatever these wolves are that are circling, to literally kill them already and raise them in Christ is what preaching's about.
Yeah.
Right. To bring about here and now death and resurrection in the life of the people is part of what your job is. But the only reason any of that makes sense is because he laid down his life and took it up again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and there's some, you could do some great atonement stuff in here where, the wolves, it's almost better to allow the wolf to kill the shepherd than it would be for the shepherd to kill the wolf, because you kill the wolf and the others are going to keep coming.
Yeah.
But you die and you satisfy their hunger for what they're looking for, their attack, and their attack is turned on you rather than on the sheep.
Right.
Right? And then, again, like we said, you're there to go, all right, that's all you got, and then pop back to life, and now you're there to protect the sheep again.
Yeah.
And in essence, almost to be that eternal sacrifice on behalf of the sheep, right? To, again, lay down your life over and over and over again, not to go transubstantiation with Catholicism, but to be that eternal sacrifice on behalf of the sheep.
Yeah.
And then there was this great line, I caught it, but at the very end, the English text reads, "This charge I have received." It's intole in the Greek, which is a command or an order.
Yeah.
It's a military dictate. So this order to lay my life down and to take it back up is what I have been commanded to do by my Father.
Yeah.
So it's not that the Father desires this. Is that the Father turns to the Son and goes, go be the good shepherd.
Yeah.
Go sacrifice yourself on behalf of the sheep.
Yeah.
And when your sacrifice is over, get back up and keep working.
Yeah.
And that's what he says he does.
That's what he does. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's powerful, right?
Yeah.
That again, the English kind of softens it there. It sounds like, sort of, because he's talking about authority at that time, too.
Right.
Like, I have the authority laid down, the authority to take it up.
Yeah.
It's like, because that's what I was commanded to
Yeah.
do. Right. It wasn't just.
Yeah, it's not like I have that power within myself. It's like God said, this will be your life.
Yeah,
this is your duty.
Yeah.
And so he becomes the eternal shepherd for us, who continues to lay down his life on our behalf and yet can't be killed.
Yeah, it's a text like this, preaching it, I think just even our little conversation here, you see how dynamic it is. Like, there's a lot of different ways you could probably let the emphasis fall, but it really is it gets into the life and the struggle of the people, right?
Yeah.
I think it's that's the thing is however you kind of get at it. I think this sort of real world struggle, back and forth, confidence, doubt, right? And then at the end, you're still ending up with a good shepherd, who is the solution or the hope or the way through it all, right?
Yeah.
Because he took that life back up and he keeps going.
Yeah. And you can preach it in some very dynamic ways without ever getting the text wrong. I was just thinking, how do you get this text wrong? And the only way that I can think to get this text wrong is to focus on what the sheep are supposed to do.
Yeah. That's a good yeah.
You know? I mean, if you're focused on the sheep, you're probably off target on this one. But other than that, I mean, the shepherd defending the sheep, the shepherd satisfying the hunger of the wolves on their behalf, the shepherd being there eternally, the shepherd standing there and taking the brunt of it, even when somebody else would run and flee.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things I liked you said earlier was that in that continuation of this reality for the people of God, especially post Easter, you're preaching this text. You've got a good shepherd who took his life up. Yeah, and this has ramifications for you here now.
Yeah. Who laid it down for the ravenous wolves, and you could connect that to the prowling lions of Peter, Satan, and all of that.
Yep.
Who faced them, who took on all of that brutality, and yet then who popped right back up and said, "Let's do it again."
That's right.
I'm still here for you.
Still here, yeah. All right, good stuff. Check out craftofpreaching.com. There'll be some good info there on this text for sure. And leave some comments, and God bless your preaching.